Want to bring your business into the spotlight? As proud sponsors of the Irish rugby team, Vodafone Business want your brand to be seen by over 50,000 fans in stadium on match day. We're giving 4 businesses the chance to win free pitchside advertising at each of Ireland's home test matches this November. Enter now at vodafone.ie/business so that your business can be in with the chance of having its moment in the spotlight.
Terms and conditions apply. Vodafone Business. Together we can.
Download Whiskey Hell Podcast. We call attention to the mainstream media narratives weekly in hopes that you'll have fun with how ridiculous the news really is. We don't want to change your mind. We just want to give you perspective so that you can choose more wisely and be more aware. Couple that with great craft beer, hilarious stories, deep thoughts, and real conversations. We know you're going to enjoy it. Download Whiskey Hell Podcast anywhere you find outstanding shows.
Take my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee? Hush.
Hello, World Ablaze listeners. Hey, big shout out to everybody. All the listeners out there, as I was on break. Roughly it was 40-something days before I put an episode out. And as soon as I did drop one, the response was huge. It was amazing. And I'm really, really thankful to all of you. Also want everybody to know that Fonts Media, that is the parent company with all the shows under it, which is including this show, World Ablaze, has been doing well as also. And I do want to point out that, this show in particular, which is great, we have picked up 7 additional countries that are actually listening to us, which is great, and listening to my show here. And I'm going to thank some of those countries right now. So outside of the US, we have Canada, we have Germany, we have Iceland, we have Australia, we have South Korea, United Kingdom, and India. And those same countries are also supporting some of the other shows we have, such as Random Thoughts, and actually Bleacher Banter, which is our sports show on Fonts Media, and Stretch Goose Podcast, which is my brother's show, has been tracking extremely well too. So we really appreciate the response and the support from everybody. We've also discussed putting video out now to some of our shows because our YouTube numbers are starting to grow, but obviously we know we need video to really make that happen. We're getting there. Be patient. And we also appreciate everybody who's been supporting us, at least in the audio format on YouTube for now. So again, big hats off to all of you, and thank you very much for supporting. Now, let's get into the show. I didn't do a lot of prep this time. I'm going to be very honest with everybody. As you all know, I do like to dig in, get deep, all of that. And I've said that before, but I really just needed to get some stuff off my chest based on my experiences. And the thing that's been on my mind lately, how in the fuck did we get here in America? The clown show that we are. The rest of the world has to be laughing at us. I'm referring to all the shenanigans that have been going on all sides. Republican, Democrat, Libertarian. I don't give a fuck who you associate yourself with. It doesn't matter what team that you want to claim. It's bad out there. When you have professionals because they're taking a salary as a public servant, these people who are voted in, who are supposed to, take the reins of this country and keep it on track. But thus far, all they've been doing is literally guiding us off the rails into God knows where. You have stupidity. Let's just go down some of the things off the top of my head that have been happening since the Democrats really, really took power and put Mr. Biden in office. That's right. I didn't say President Biden, although technically he is because he was voted in by the people. I know you can't see it, but those are giant air quotes I'm doing right now. But this administration in general, there's always been throughout history, every presidency's had some kind of scandal or some kind of shenanigans, whether it was big or small, there's always something. but this has been ridiculous. I mean, you have people caught on camera having gay sex. That's right, people, butt sex, ass ramming in the freaking Senate on the tables. Seriously, you have people bickering and throwing insults at each other. You have, I mean, to that point, just recently, what was this, last week or so? Now, I didn't jump on this particular incident right away because I just didn't have time to come in to respond to it. But everyone's already heard. But, you know, what happened with Marjorie Taylor Greene, AOC, seriously, live, camera, everything going on, and they're just slinging insults at each other, going back and forth as if they're on a fucking elementary school playground somewhere. Maybe even high school, you know, back and forth drop. Like, whatever happened to dignity and pride in representing the country as a representative of the people? You are the front-facing personnel of this giant, amazing company that we call the United States of America. This country was a guiding light and a beacon to many for many, many years. And now we're just a laughingstock. Every time you turn on the television, you stream content, look something up on YouTube, there is a congressperson, a senator, a staffer acting out of turn, totally disregarding their oath of office, completely looking down upon their subjects, so to speak, which would be us, the American people. They don't listen to us whatsoever. But to publicly be bickering back and forth as if you're on a playground somewhere. Look, are you children? Because I know I didn't vote in a child to represent this major, major, major organization we call the United States of America. Our military is a laughingstock. We have very proud individuals who literally go into the military to want to represent and keep this country whole and stand up for its values, but many of them don't even know what they're standing up for anymore. What are they protecting at this point? We don't have our own culture anymore. And you can say, well, we're diverse. I mean, you can't really pin it on one culture because we have so many cultures that live here. Look, I'm going to throw that fucking argument out the window. Anybody who desires to go live and change their life in another land, you choose that destination as the stopping point of your travels to live and build your life, you must like something about that place, whether it be here, whether it be Italy, whether it be France, it doesn't matter. You must like something about that culture, which means you should integrate into the culture and continue to carry its values and beliefs on to the next generations that are going to be born from your family that you are creating in the land you choose to make your life. Specifically, the United States of America. You should be very, very respectful of the land that you are going to. Now, I'm not saying dump where you came from. Don't take me wrong. Listen, if you're Mexican, you're Italian, you're Hmong, you're French, Irish, sure. Be proud of your heritage. Be proud of where you came from. But realize when you're here in the United States of America, it's time to represent and believe in what America is. It's not a campground. We're not a giant land of travelers here. Okay? You chose to stop here on this land, so do what you can to contribute to the betterment of our society and to carry our traditions moving forward. We're losing our culture. We're losing our culture because we're voting in asshats into office that treat the oath of office as if it's just something they do on the side for fame and fortune. They're not actually, I mean, it's becoming a popularity contest, which is why they're not doing their fucking jobs. They're more worried about their presence on social media or how many hits they're going to get on a video. And I don't even think they care if they look like a bunch of jerks yelling and screaming at each other on a very publicly accessible medium. The whole world is watching, but they don't care because all they're looking at is how many people are viewing the videos and how often their name is coming up. Look, Republican or Democrat, we're talking about AOC versus Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example, because that was the last example I brought up, right? I don't care if Marjorie Taylor Greene's a Republican, and I don't care if AOC is a Democrat. The bottom fucking line is you are there to represent America and the American people. Why don't you have some dignity and self-respect, and more importantly, respect for the people that you are supposed to represent? Again, I don't know how we got here, but I will say this. I think it started not with the inclusion equity. Go back further. Tolerance. I think tolerance got us here. Because if you think about it, there was a big push for being tolerant towards other people's lives and decisions and whatnot. But the reality is, all tolerance really seems to be is you dismissing who you are as a person, dismissing your beliefs, and not standing up for who you are or what you believe in just so that the other person can feel good. I'm sorry, but that doesn't work anymore. Because if you're not standing up for your beliefs, which should be based on, for example, in society, our culture is shaped by our belief systems and ways of doing things. And if we're not putting the people, the dissenters, in check to let them know that you're not on the right path and you're not sticking to the ideals and customs of our culture, then you are literally just working on the eventual collapse of the culture we have. And this has led us to where we are, to where people can't decide what sex they are. That it's more important to basically celebrate your sexual preference than your achievements as a human being. And yes, I'm talking about the LGBTQAI plus community. And I'm not attacking y'all. I'm not attacking any of you. If you're gay, trans, whatever. I get that you got to live your life. And I get that that is who you may really be on the inside. Fine. But why are we celebrating your sexual preference? Why do we need all of these days and months to celebrate a sexual preference in America? That absolutely makes no sense. Shouldn't we be celebrating those brave and proud Americans who have contributed an amazing invention, who have suggested an amazing law, or even a tax code that benefits everybody? Just examples, right? Why are we not celebrating people for their achievements? It seems like we're just celebrating them for their ability to stand up to everybody and demand that they get the respect they think they deserve based on how they feel or their sexual preference. Like that is fucking stupid. Hence how we are here right now in America. It's very important what happens during this election season. Now, I don't know if anybody realizes this, or you don't want to admit it. And I'm talking to all of you Hollywood insiders, all you actors, you athletes, all you personalities who are, influencers and whatnot. I know you're not admitting this, but you're only doing what you're doing in terms of what you're believing in and backing so that you can keep your paycheck coming in. Because at this very moment, it's no secret it's no secret that and I'm talking far left, wacky, dumb, fucking noodle-brained Democrat Party is running all the media right now. They really are. Hence why certain shows are suppressed that lean conservative. And anybody who has an opinion that goes against the grain or who's not towing the line of the party, right? So I get you need to make your paycheck. You want to keep acting. You want to keep playing sports. You want to keep influencing. So you don't want to go against the grain. But at some point, if you're not standing up for what you really believe in and who you really are, you are literally just contributing to the demise of our country, period. It's time to pull your heads out of your ass and realize if not now, you will never get the chance again, because we will not have this beloved country we call the United States of America for much longer if we don't get back to conservative values, we don't get back to thinking with our own heads, not just going with the flow, not just automatically backing your team, your donkeys or your elephants, your blues, your reds. Look, all that shit goes out the window. Because in the end, even though that we have minor differences, some may claim them to be major differences of opinions, but out of the handful that I can count maybe on one hand, we pretty much align on everything else. Because as people, as humans, we all want the same thing. We want a safe place to live. We want an economically viable place to where we can thrive. We want food. We want shelter. We want water. And a right to education. A right to health care. Everybody wants these things. We want our kids to be safe. So if we all want the same thing, why are we so divided? Listen, stop voting with your feelings. Stop voting because you want to support the party. Be much more critical in your thinking. Ask yourself, look, we're playing 4D chess out here at this point. We really are. And if you're not engaging the game and thinking about where you're moving your next piece, you are literally contributing to the collapse of this country. I know this sounds very harsh, very attacking. I'm coming at everybody pretty strong, but it's getting ridiculous. It's getting harder and harder to not get upset about these things. Well, that being said, the tolerance and the lack of respect and professionalism that we have in this country is leading to other things. Our economy is out of control because of stupid decisions, right? I'm going to point out something here, and this is going to be a very simple example. Let's talk about retail, for example. Retail. Being tolerant and letting people just do whatever based on their feelings because we supposedly don't want to offend anybody, so we'll just shut our mouths and never correct anybody, has led to and affects everything. But for example, in retail, listen, have you asked yourself, has anyone asked themselves why in America so many retail stores are closing? And we're talking about major retailers. And I know the argument is always, well, it's because of online shopping. Nobody wants to go in the stores. I don't believe that's the case. Because when you need something, there's certain items you really got to have your hands on, your eyeballs on, so that you can make that decision. What if you need something now? It's an emergency. You're building something. You need a replacement item. You can't wait, a week, 3 days, even a month to get your item. You want to be able to get to the store or the retailer of choice that sells the item you need so that you can get something right then and now. But more and more stores are closing across the U.S., especially in California. And everybody's blaming the economy and online shopping. But the reality is, well, especially this probably relates more to California. I haven't really researched any other states, but the crime has been going up. And there's major cities where, for example, San Francisco, Oakland, even in LA, there's certain larger cities where the crime has become so bad in terms of retail theft, and just criminal activities in general. I mean, people waiting for you in the parking lot, right? That there's been multiple retailers closing. Just around San Francisco and Oakland. Now, crime is a factor, but I think the other factor is nobody gives a shit. Remember the old adage, if you were born recently and you never even heard this, I get it. And that's sad that, we're not relaying the messages and the teachings and, just pushing it down to the other generations that are coming after us. And that's sad. But the lack of respect for yourself and for others, especially, let's say, in a retail environment, I think is what's really killing the retailers. Look, I went into Best Buy the other day. I had to pick up an item. And this is one of the reasons that I personally avoid some of these stores, these retailers. Because people are oblivious and don't have any respect for the customer experience. It's all about them. And that's how our society is. It's all about me, how I feel. I can do what I want and you're supposed to accept it. If you walk into a major retailer, and just really open your ears and just take in the experience. I have never in my life remember when it was okay for associates of a major retail chain to be standing on the sales floor or the floor, whatever you want to call it, and be talking random conversations while using explicit language, where it's obvious the customer can hear you, or even talking bad about customers on the floor right next to other customers. Have you ever noticed when you try to ask for help in some of these places that people tend to run and not want to engage you whatsoever, even though it's their job to do so? And I can name many retailers where this has become pretty much the culture because they let it get there. It used to be the customer's always right. Now, even I can say I don't always agree with that, but the nature of your business is making money off of customers who go to purchase items, in which, as a business, you make a profit on. And if you're setting your environment up to where the customer experience is pretty much one that the customer doesn't want to go back to your establishment, well, then you're going to get where we are now. I have a full list here of stores that have been closing between 2023 and 2024. And it's an astounding number. And this is stores across the U.S. This is updated every so many, I think once a month or every so many weeks. But as of now, just in 2023 and 2024, there are over 6,551 retailers that are closing. Either closing multiple locations or it could be a mom and pop store. But over 6,500 retailers just within pretty much about 2 years' time. Of those, reading off some of the major retailers. Now, some of these, even though they might be closing, let's say, a state you're in, doesn't mean they didn't have, locations elsewhere. But Bed Bath & Beyond, 617 stores by themselves. Radio Shack, we don't really see them around often. Supposedly they went out of business, but there was 552 additional stores that were closed. Family Dollar, 225. Tuesday Morning, I don't know if anyone's ever been there, but 204 stores. And Sears closed another 193. I can't chalk all this up to economic woes because this has been happening over time. And during that time is when I've been noticing the customer service experience declining. That being said, Best Buy just announced that, they just closed 24 stores and it's going to plan to close an additional 15 stores in 2025. So they've been on a decline and they've been ramping ramping up their efforts in closing locations. Macy's is going to close 150 more stores. Dollar Tree, this is a big one. Dollar Tree announced they will be closing 1,000 stores. 1,000. Outback Steakhouse is also closing a bunch of stores. Red Lobster, 48 stores. Rue 21, they were so huge and so active. They're closing stores. In fact, they filed for bankruptcy earlier this year. Walgreens is going to close 150. These are examples of not necessarily just economics. I'm sure someone's going to comment and try to correct me on this because, yes, the economy is a factor. But our tolerance of letting others do what they want unchecked based on their feelings has led to the poor customer service experience, which is leading to the closing of these giant retailers, which is affecting our economy, which is also making it worse. Now think about what's going to happen to all these empty buildings and how it's going to affect the commercial real estate market. That's a lot of square footage out there that's going to be available. And what do we do with that? Some say turn it into additional housing because there's a housing shortage. There really isn't. I don't believe there is. There's probably a shortage of affordable housing, especially in today's times with the economy that, thanks to Joe Biden's decisions and his staff, yes, he did that. That it's getting harder and harder for certain individuals to, let's take ownership out of it. Not even try to buy a house, but even rent. Because no matter what we can say about the economy, as far as interest rates and average median prices of homes, rents are also being adjusted and bumped up. It almost seems like monthly in some cases for no reason. And it seems like we're getting pushed into a perpetual state of being a nation of renters. Because the only people that can come in and afford these houses at this point are large corporations and conglomerates that are literally buying up property just so they can rent it out and make money. So everything started with being tolerant. Nope, you can't correct, you can't have an opinion on, you can't voice this, you can't keep our culture on track because you're going to hurt their feelings and they have a right to be an individual and they have a right to wear, I don't know, fucking, pink hats or whatever. It's just an example, people. Just stay with me. So they have a right to do everything, but you don't have a right to stand up for the values and the beliefs that you have that are the backbone of the American culture. And this has led us to where we are with politicians who just dismiss the public, talk down to us as if we're just their servants and subjects. They act as if we should be so thankful that they are there. Like we should just bow down and, oh my God, you are the greatest ever. Continue to act like a fucking asshole and continue to go ahead and represent the clown show that you're a part of, just so that we can continue to lose credibility with the rest of the world. Now, speaking of credibility, outside of the few individuals that I did name, what about Gavin Newsom? I always come back to him at some point. My brother does too on his show, Stretch Goose Podcast, and also on our other show, Random Thoughts, because it's hard not to. Here's a guy that's supposed to be the Democratic Party rock star that since COVID, and I actually heard this, and it was a good point. I think it was on the Bongino show, and he had a guest that basically pointed this out, which is very true, that COVID really did during that time expose all the shenanigans and bullshit that these politicians were pulling this whole time. And that none of that rings truer than that with Gavin Newsom. Look, now I'm going to speak to California. Stop voting based on the fucking party that you think you are a member of. Stop towing the party line, because if you're not voting logically here, you're going to continue down the path of destroying California. Not just a country, but we're just talking about California right now. We had a chance to recall Newsom, and every Democrat in California stood up to make sure that nothing happened because they wanted to keep him in office. Well, how are you enjoying the initiative of all electric vehicles and fading out gas when California doesn't even have the grid to support this, doesn't have the infrastructure to support it? Or are you enjoying the gas tax increases? How are those hikes going? Because there's a major one coming. Has been approved that's going into effect very soon. And even before that is going into effect, they've already added another 50 cents tax on top of that. How does Gavin Newsom account for the $24 billion, $24 billion that was earmarked, put aside, and spent on our homeless issue we have in California? So far, nothing's been done. And there is no accountability whatsoever for where the fuck that money went and what it was spent on. There just isn't. And they will not produce it. Completely just spitting in the face of everyone in California. And furthermore, this is a big one. Remember a few years ago, at least those in California or those who pay attention to what's going on, as far as California is involved in the USA, whatever happened to the amount of money that they continually bragged about? Remember California being in I think it was about $100 billion surplus? Fast forward just a few years later, it's all fucking gone. They're in the red. How did that happen? Where did the money go, Gavin? We don't know, because they will not tell us. They don't believe they're accountable to the people that they are taxing to death here in California. Hell, they're even chasing you for taxes when you try to leave. And this is just California. Most of the rest of the country is also having their issues. May not be California issues, but the lack of respect for the general public by those elected into office who are supposed to represent all of us it's just astounding that we are where we are at in America right now. Listen, please stop just supporting your team. Please think. Literally think. I'm not saying don't listen to your favorite podcaster or news outlet. Look, you like Bongino, you like Bill Maher, whoever the hell you listen to. Fine. Realize, take the information with the grain of salt. Okay? You listen to Dave Smith? Great. Cool. Intelligent person? I listen to his podcast too. But take the information with the grain of salt. Listen, it's not all about these guys are always correct because they make you feel warm and fuzzy on the inside, because you might agree with most of what they say. But you have to do your own research. You got to take the information in, apply what they said to your little, spreadsheet or in your mind, and start comparing what they're saying to what you're experiencing and what you heard from your neighbor and what you heard from the entrepreneur down the street. So once you start doing all of this, you start to really decipher what is true and what isn't, and what you can really get behind. And to that point, by the way, if we're going to change America and we're going to get our culture back and we're going to get our respect back, I know everybody just thinks of the big picture all the time, right? Like the presidency and his staff or her staff. And that's great, because we need to concentrate on that. We need to know that who we have in office is the right person, but get more involved locally. Look, it starts local. If you're not there to see who your mayor is, your city manager, your alderman, any of these local positions, local governmental positions, if you don't start there, look, we can't build the house without a good frame, right? You just can't. And you can't even build a good frame if you don't have a good surface or foundation, correct? Like if you don't have the proper foundation, it's not going to hold the framing up properly. And if your framing isn't properly done, then the rest of the house that goes together is not going to hold up. So it starts at the bottom or at the ground floor here, and which is your local government. So please go out and pay attention to your local government, because I find it very sad that when it comes to election day at the local level, people just check the box of the name that they're familiar with, which means you are just voting by what name you heard the most, which all that's doing is just affirming that it's nothing more than a popularity contest, and it's nothing more than, how much money they spent on advertising that gets them the win for the political seat that they are running for. And this happens all the time at the local level. Pay attention to where you live, what's going on around you. Look, you want to control what's going on in your schools, get involved. You want school choice, you need to get involved. You want to control what's going on with local taxes and governance, you got to get involved. You want to control what's going on with your local law enforcement and fire departments and whatnot, get involved. You have to get involved there, because collectively, everything that we do at the local level branches out and spreads up into the federal level. So it's very important that we take this serious. All right, listen, this is all I got for today. I know it's kind of more of a rant and whatnot, and I didn't have a lot prepared, but I really need to get that off my chest. And by the way, thank you to everyone who's supporting us. Hit me up at worldofblaze@fontsmedia.com. Also, you can find me at World of Blaze on X. And once again, thank you. Have a great day.
I wanna taste your content, hold your breath and feel the tension. Devils hide behind redemption. Honesty is a one-way gate to hell.